like to do that, establish poet first and then read two of my own. So this poet, Robert Frost said when he taught at Amherst, all his classes, he told them, if you want to be a poet, quit college and go out and live. Because that's what he did. He went to Harvard. They were giving him C's, And so he quit college, went to England, and became a famous poet, And he met great poets over there at that time, T.S. Eliot, Ezra Pound, and others from different schools. But most poets who make it in the United States, they don't follow that advice, Of this book, Contemporary American Poetry, and it's like the two exceptions to academic poets, really, and there are Allen Ginsberg and Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who, like Nadia, wanted to do a poetry of the people. Poetry is supposed to be of the people, for the people, by the people, Anyway, tonight's poet is a purely academic poet. His name is Mark Strand. Have any of you know Mark Strand? Okay, yeah. I mean, this guy's, biography is a list of colleges that he taught at. Went to Oberlin, studied art at Yale, then Italian poetry in Italy on a Fulbright scholarship. And then Fulbright had him teach down in Brazil, and then it's just, he was a poet laureate consultant to the Congress on poetry, but taught at the University of Iowa, Mount Holyoke, Columbia, Brooklyn, at the City University of New York, Princeton, Brandeis, University of Utah, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago, and he now teaches at Columbia. His whole life, from when he went to school, was spent in the academic world. And I am a little bit stuck up. I think, I go, wow, a lot of times that poetry is really stuffy then. But that's who I decided to read a poem by today. What's funny is I went to the University of Washington in 1968, and he was teaching there then, but I never had a class from him. And then I lived in Charles Village, right near Johns Hopkins, for a long time, and he was teaching there at the time that I was living there. And, but I never really heard of him until I took a poetry class. So, this is a relatively short poem, 3 stanzas. It's called The End. Not every man knows what he shall sing at the end. Watching the pier as the ship slips away, or what it will seem like when he's held by the sea's roar, motionless there at the end, or what he shall hope for once it is clear that he'll never go back. When the time has passed to prune the rose or caress the cat, when the sunset touching the lawn and the full moon icing it down no longer appear, not every man knows what he'll discover instead when the weight of the past leans against nothing and the sky. It is no more than remembered light, and the stories of Cirrus and Cumulus come to a close, and all the birds are suspended in flight. Not every man knows what is waiting for him, or what he shall sing when the ship he is on slips into darkness there at the end. So he was what I found interesting in reading a little bit about him was that he learned to paint. He got his degree in fine arts at Yale in painting, but he became known as a poet. I imagine he continued to paint, and so he cites as his influences not poets but artists. Max Ernst and the famous Italian futurist whose name slips me right now. No, and Rene Magritte. So anyway, then in choosing my poems, I thought, well, this mixture of image and word, and I thought then I'll choose a couple of the poems that I wrote looking at a painting. I believe that these were paintings that were in Juxtapose magazine, which is kind of lowbrow art. So, the first one is called Getting Into Your Mind. I wish you could see the picture, But thank you for sharing your strange world of erotic sterility and solipsistic volatility and neurotic imbecility. Your head is so far up in the clouds, your spiked hair has solidified. Volcanoes burst from your cranium, giving birth to the most inappropriate eruptions, earth-shaking and totally irrelevant interruptions, spewing forth figments of broken promises. This magnificent herd of demon fractals, leaping from dark, chaotic waters, molten feeling and unformed thought, has become my guiding light, my bevy of beckoning stars, conjuring totally insane wishes and fantasies. Constellations of constipated emotion drown me in meaning, hope, ecstasy, and despair. I quiver like a centenarian in a rocking chair clinging to a jackhammer. I am hot to ply my way, to pry my way into the Himalayas of your solitary egotism, to build fire by rubbing sticks or striking flints against the myriad cold, hard facts that you have categorized. I am fascinated by the towering mosque in your frontal lobe, capped by a minaret of minor concerns, whose crown pierces your pineal gland. I plan to build a nest in your left brain, where I can observe through the mist your gestalt consciousness bubbling up out of the hypothalamus, rolling like a hippopotamus through the murky minefields of your moods. The moon in me smiles. I enjoy listening to the cold wind sweeping across the Siberian desert of your absolutely insipid imagination. Thank you for sharing with me this impenetrable world of reverse vulnerability and crass indecisiveness. I am sure that together we can accomplish nothing, thus providing us an endless source of frustration.
I don't want you to write a letter of recommendation for me.
This next one's not quite as long. It's called Stone Goddess. This was from another painting. I always suspected that your head was filled with ribbons and hay, but I never would have known if your skull hadn't cracked open, exposing the right lobe, bringing bright ribbons of corn silk into the light, exposing crimson passions, lemon rind fears, tangles of pastel dreams and purple emotions. No order, little thought. It is no wonder that we fought. Yet now you look so calm, lips pressed in determined thought. Your perfect nose still clings to the residue of your face, proclaiming to the ages your unfading beauty. And still your one good eye, bedded beneath an arch of well-trimmed brow, maintains a calm, reflective glow. You preserve your dignity, even as your hay brains scatter in the wind. Your breached skull and half a head bring out the whole heart in me. I love you more than ever, you stone goddess.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you very much.